Bleh. My, like, lips are really chapped. Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to our channel.
Today we're going to be doing a Q&A.
So I just have questions on my phone that you guys asked us on Instagram. And we're just going to read them off and answer them. So most of the questions were pointed towards me. So do you want to do a separate video that has dad questions?
That'd be fun.
Let us know if you want a video with questions about being a teen dad. And yes, Oliver is joining us. So, the first question is, what is your favorite part about being a mom? I'd say my favorite part about being a mom is just like seeing him grow and develop and like all the little smiles. Do you see yourself? Yeah, just seeing him grow and develop and how far he's come. Yeah, that's probably my favorite part. Does Oliver sleep through the night? That's a funny question. No, he does not. He'll usually go to bed around the same time we do. Maybe around 11, usually. 10.
Between like, I would say early as 9:30 to like 11, yeah.
But if he goes to bed at 9:30, he'll wake up at 10:30. And then party with us until probably like midnight. If he goes to bed at 9:30, we're in trouble. Right. But yeah, I'd say probably my ideal time that I want him to go to bed is probably around like 10:45. So that way I can go to bed around like 11:30 or something. So that way we can get a little bit of time to just like hang out, play video games, talk, eat, do whatever. Yeah. So yeah, he does not sleep through the night. And then he wakes up probably about every hour. And it's not an easy pat him and he'll go back to sleep. It's like full blown, we're getting up, feeding him. Yeah. Oh my gosh. He just woke up from a nap, so he's probably red-faced, but yeah.
So excited.
And then during the day, he takes like 2 naps usually, if that. But they're anywhere from 15 minutes to, I'd say, usually around an hour.
Yeah.
So, how do you deal... Pause momentarily. Okay, sorry about that. My dog is going crazy because the neighbors' dogs are out. But back to the question. How do you deal with a sick baby? So if you guys didn't know, Oliver just had a double ear infection and a sinus infection. He's just getting over it. He's still on meds for it. But I'd say it wasn't that much different than normal. It was mostly just suctioning his nose out and just dealing with a lot more fussiness, even less sleep. Trying to get him to eat was hard, but a lot of help too. Trevor helps me out a lot during the day, and my mom too. She's awesome. So, how's online school going? I hate online school, essentially. He likes to hear his own voice. See, he's happy. He just likes to scream. But it's a lot different than public school. I'd rather be going to public school, but he needs me to stay home with him just because I don't want him getting sick during this season. But it's a lot. There's a lot of assignments going into it, and I really don't have a lot of time to sit down for like 8 hours a day, like a normal person would go to school for 8 hours a day, and then come home and do a little bit of homework maybe, or maybe not, but like this one. But yeah, it's just hard to balance, I would say. I don't think it'd be difficult if I didn't have him. I think that I could definitely do it if I was able to just like stay home by myself all day and do it. Yeah, he says dada, not mama, but it's fine. Everything's fine. I'm not mad about it. Next question is kind of similar to some of them, but how are you doing with parenting? I'd say the parenting decisions right now are super easy. Trevor and I agree on essentially everything having to do with him. We don't agree on everything. But yeah, we have always just talked about it before the situation even came up. Like before we even found out we were pregnant, we'd always talked about like, what if something happens? You know, like what if we do accidentally end up getting pregnant, then what will we do? So we had always talked about that kind of stuff, and I feel like the decisions now we had already essentially made and talked about. So we just talk to each other, I think, and we hear each other's opinions on it and make a decision together. But I think usually it's just I tell him we need to make this decision, I think this, and he's like, yeah, I agree, let's do it. So that's pretty much what it is. But I like to do a lot of research on stuff. Let me know if you want me to do a controversial parenting tag. Don't you think that'd be fun? So just like about our controversial decisions on stuff like abortion and circumcision and stuff like that. So does balancing things get easier? No, I don't think so right now. Right now we're kind of in the heat of things, I think, though.
Depends on the day sometimes.
Yeah, depending on how much we have to do, what kind of things we're doing. When I am like working and I have tons of schoolwork and Oliver has 3 appointments that day and Trevor has to do something after school and stuff like that, that's when it gets... Can you not do that? He's playing with a comb.
I was just laying here.
But yeah, I don't think it really gets easier. I think you just learn how to deal with complicated situations, but it doesn't get easier necessarily.
I'm sure eventually.
Eventually, when he gets older, when he doesn't have so many appointments, not so many medications, I don't have to work as much, and my school gets a little bit easier.
When he's running around on his own.
Yeah, when I don't have to hold him 24/7. Okay. So, what are the huge changes since last video? So yes, we haven't filmed in so long, and I'm sorry about that. I don't know why we stopped filming, but the huge changes since the last video. So for like his physical stuff, he has been scooting on the floor, so like he can't crawl necessarily, but he can like scoot himself pretty well.
Pretty fast. Oh
yeah, he's pretty fast. He definitely now prefers being on his stomach rather than his back. I don't know if he could sit up on it. He can sit up on his own for the most part. He definitely still falls over a lot, so he's still behind, but doing well. Eating, he hates purees, anything to do with baby food. I've tried baby-led weaning kind of stuff, but he has issues with coordination and gag reflex. So he has a lot of sensory issues in his mouth. So he has therapy for all this stuff, but we have different tools that we use to help him try to get over those sensory issues and stuff like that. So purees is like awful, absolutely awful. He hates it most of the time. Don't vomit, please. He hates it most of the time, but his bottle feeding has improved quite a bit. He's been pretty good. He works with a nutritionist and an occupational therapist, and he's still not eating enough for his age, even his adjusted age, but he's doing better than he was, which it was really difficult there for a while. Sleeping, it's gotten worse since last video. He isn't sleeping as well. When he first got home from the hospital and when we were in the hospital, I'd have to wake him up for every feeding. He was never awake. We were concerned about how much he was sleeping because he was sleeping so much, but now it's the opposite end. He's not sleeping enough. Is it hard to balance social life with friends and mom life? I don't have a social life. Trevor is my social life. He's the only person I really talk to. And Olivia, if you're out there. But, yeah, he's essentially the only person I talk to, really, like, frequently. But, so I don't think it's hard to balance friends and mom life because my friend is my mom life. We parent together. Don't puke. So no, it's not hard to balance social life with friends life. It's hard to balance school and work and friend with mom life. It's hard to be able to spend the amount of time that I want to with these two, and, you know, work as much as I need to and do school, everything like that, and spend time with my family too. But I think we're doing pretty well spending time with family because we live with my parents and go to his parents' houses and stuff like that. So, next question. Who was or is your biggest support? I think it's definitely different for both of us, but I think no offense, Trevor, probably my mom, because she is always there to help with him. This one, not this one. Although I need help with him. Somebody help me, please. But she's always there if, like, I get overwhelmed with, like, how much schoolwork I need to do, or when he was sick, she really helped me out a lot. Because I didn't want to leave him when he was sick, of course, but I really need time to do my schoolwork and just to be a person without having to worry about you. Yeah, so I never have to worry about, oh, who's gonna watch him if I need to do homework. Like, my mom, my dad, Trevor, there's so many people that would, like, help out to watch him. So I have a lot of support. That's probably our biggest thing why we've been able to do this for so long. And the last question, it's an interesting one. It's probably gonna take a little while to answer, but why is Oliver bottle or formula fed? So, as most of you know, Oliver was born at 32 weeks, so 8 weeks early, as well as being very sick when he was born. So if you erase his prematurity and put him at a 40-weeker, he still would have been in the NICU because of how sick he was. So, and I can do a full, like, story time on, like, labor and delivery and, like, our birth story and his NICU journey and everything like that, but are you listening? Long story short, we did breastfeed when he was able to start, and that was when he was about a month and a half old is when he was able to start. And at that point we realized he had a lot of issues with coordination. So what I mean by that is he didn't coordinate his suck, swallow, breathe reflex. So babies inherently, when they're born above 34 weeks, they have a reflex to suck, swallow, then I take a breath. Suck, swallow, take a breath. And Oliver didn't have that reflex. Even at his new age of, he would have been 38 weeks by that point, he still wasn't able to coordinate all of that. So at a month and a half old, we were trying breastfeeding, you know, every time we would do his assessments, we'd feed him, try to nurse, and he would get, if you know how much babies eat, like there's 30 milliliters in 1 ounce. So normal babies his age would have been eating drops of colostrum, but he was only eating, and if they were formula fed, they would eat probably about 1 to 2 ounces in a bottle at that age, if they were term and everything like that. He was eating 1 to 2 milliliters, so that's 1/30th or 1/15th of an ounce. So that is not enough to sustain weight and everything like that. And he was still tube fed. He had a nasogastric tube. For a while he had an oral gastric tube, but that's when he was on the ventilator. So when he got the clearance for nursing, he got a nasogastric tube. And he would not be able to get enough. So I had always pumped for that month and a half that he wasn't nursing. I pumped, and then after he tried to nurse, we always gave it 30 minutes. And when he was done, or if he wanted to go longer, we would give him longer and weigh him and how that routine goes. But he could not get enough. So then once we were done with that, we would tube feed him. So I'd hold the little tube above his head, and we'd pour his milk into a syringe, and it'd go through the tube into your little nose and down into his stomach. So he was getting enough. He would gain weight. But in order to go home, they said he had to eat 60 milliliters every 3 hours. 70 milliliters? 70. It was 70. So you had to eat 70 milliliters every 3 hours, which is a little over an ounce. It's about an ounce and a third, but he was obviously nowhere close to that. So we had to try something different. He was aspirating fluid. So when he would nurse, he'd get the milk and then he'd breathe it into his lungs, essentially, which obviously is not good. You can dry drown from that and die. So they weren't concerned about him dying from that because he wasn't getting enough. But he couldn't coordinate it well, so it'd go into his lungs, which could turn into something bad if it were to continue. So he had a barium swallow study done. He would drink a liquid, they'd do an x-ray, and then see if he was aspirating fluid. And he was. So they decided he can't breastfeed, but we can try milk in a bottle. So we tried my pumped milk in a bottle on an ultra preemie nipple. So it's the smallest nipple you can get. We tried it, and he would again take, the most he ever got was 10 mils out of a bottle. So he just wasn't having it with the breast milk. He would aspirate that again, and so they tried him on formula. Now, this really wasn't what I wanted at all, obviously, but his occupational therapist in the hospital decided that that's what was best for him, and if he wanted to go home, she told me this, which I felt really pressured. She told me, don't gag yourself. If you want to take him home you're gonna put him on this formula and he's gonna eat it and you're gonna go home. So at that point we tried him on formula, and it was the thickest formula possible, high calorie, and that specific formula was the thickest on the market. So, and he ate it. I mean, it started out really slow, and I thought, well, why are we even putting him on formula if he's not even gonna eat it? And it was awful. So throughout that whole time though, I kept pumping. He eventually got to the point where he would eat what they wanted him to. They took out his tube even though he wasn't quite eating enough, and they said, well, we're gonna push him. If he doesn't eat enough and we just put it down his nose, then he doesn't have to work for it. So they took it out and said, you're either gonna eat or you're gonna starve, essentially. So they took him off it and he ate the full thing, and we got to go home. So I kept pumping, hoping that he also has a throat condition. I didn't even mention that. He has a throat condition called laryngomalacia. He had a bedside scope. I have documents that say, like, he has laryngomalacia. He cannot breastfeed. It's not safe for him. So it's a condition where the two flaps of his throat, his vocal cords, when he swallows, they press together, right? Like normal. Then when he tries to take another suck after he took his breath, they don't open back up enough. So he makes this noise called stridor. And he would always do that. So that's why he couldn't coordinate well enough. I was hoping, they told me he can grow out of it by 6 months. So I'm like, all right, let's keep pumping until he's 6 months old, you know? Keep pumping as long as I can. And then see if he can breastfeed and stuff. And once he got out of the hospital, I would intermittently just put him on. Do you remember that? I would just put him on because I wanted that connection so bad. I wanted a nurse so bad. But he would never really eat anything. It was a few sucks here and there, but he never really caught on. And then I kind of had a break where I was like, is this really even worth it anymore? He was over 6 months. I don't even remember how old he was. Was he like 6.5 months or something like that? I think around when I stopped.
Yeah.
So he was around 6.5 months, and I was like, well, he hasn't grown out of it. I don't know if he's ever gonna grow out of it. He still hasn't grown out of it to this day. So I just told myself, I'm gonna stop pumping. It's not worth it anymore. And also another reason why I stopped is we had to buy a second deep freeze as well as put stuff over at Trevor's dad's house. So I don't need to explain any of this really, because it doesn't matter how Oliver eats, because I sneak breast milk in his bottles anyway, and his doctors are okay with that. As long as he's not stridoring, and I know what that sounds like. I know how to take care of him, and I know it's best for him. And of course I want to breastfeed, of course, and I would have if I could have, and I would have done it a hell of a lot longer than this, but it's not what worked for him. So that's why he eats out of a bottle. That was the longest answer ever. So I think that pretty much concludes our video.
Yep.
I need to edit that really bad. So thanks for watching. Let us know if you want us to do one with Trevor. I think that would be really interesting, and his friends would probably have a lot of questions for him.
I'm sure.
So everybody send me Snapchats or Instagram DMs or Twitter or Facebook, anything. Comment down below questions for Trevor. I'll post it on my Instagram as well. No, he should post it on his Instagram. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!